So, welcome to Walpole United WFC.
Hello and welcome back to Friday Night Fans Forum and Walpole United WFC. I do apologise. There's going to be a slight delay on my end. It's bugging me because I can see it. There's slight motion blur going on or whatever's going on. So if I suddenly drop out, I'm hoping the stream doesn't end and these three can carry on the show. We've got lots to talk about. There's plenty of quotes from Emma Sanders today. But obviously, discuss the topic on the thumbnail. 12 in 3. It's going to be a tough ask that, but we'll go through all of that and find out where the goals are going to come from because we're all positive on this channel. We don't do if, buts, and maybes, but that's the Liverpool channel, isn't it? That goes with that one. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. How is everybody?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, all good.
Great, good. Thanks, Connor.
Glad to hear it. We'll go around the house first then before we open up to a wider discussion. I always like just going with the question on the thumbnail or the question on the tweets. Do we need 12 in 3? That's the question that everyone's thinking of. So before we open up to the wider discussion, Barry, first question to yourself: and do we need to score 12, or do you think we need to score more or less?
I was going to say, when you said 12 in 3, I thought, yeah, we do need 12 points in 3 games. If we can get that, that'd be amazing. That would really help. It's so hard to put the number on it, really, isn't it? But if we score 12, that gives us a goal difference of plus 15. But City have got 4 games to play, so they've still got that opportunity. And are they going to score more than 4 in each of those? Possibly. I think really the trick is we've just got to go out there and score as many as we possibly can. As we said before, it's all about getting that first goal. I think the hard part is if you go out immediately thinking I've got to go and score 6 or 7 goals in this match because we really want to do well, you're actually adding that pressure to yourself. Really, kind of needs to be a little bit like the kids' football. Really, we can just say go out there, get a goal. When you've got a goal first, then we can think about it, and that's exactly what it is. So we need them to go out there and get an early goal. If they get an early goal, then there is more chance for us to score more. But I think the most important thing is win the match. That is 100% the most important thing. And then after that, yeah, absolutely. Whenever we get that first one, we can't just shut up shop. We need to keep going and score more.
John, same question to yourself, and then Andrew, obviously, if you can follow on with that one. Do you think 12 will be enough, or where do you stand on that?
I think, yeah, even that, it sounds a lot, but I just still think that even that might not be enough. Looking at City's fixtures, I think we'd probably need, several more than that, which is a big ask. I mean, it's possible, I suppose, but a lot of things have to go right in the last 3 games. But you never know. If we score early on Sunday, maybe the floodgates could open, and might give us a bit of a chance, hopefully.
I was going to say it's difficult with we can score 12 in the last 3 games. It's like, I don't know, City could end up scoring more than us, and then we just miss out on by a goal difference, but. Are we more relying on the fact that City might have to draw one of their games or lose, and then we pip them to the post on the final day? But it's just, I'd say, like, the game's coming up. We're going to create lots of chances. Are we going to take every single chance that we get? I'd say we can't let, obviously, the opposition get into a lead first, and then they've got something to defend as well. So it's like, that's the key as well. We must be winning these games, as Barry said. So it's. I don't know, can we score 12 in the next? It's given the size we're playing. It'd be nice if we do, but I just can't see it. I think they're all going to be very tight games. So I just think we might just be having to rely on City dropping points. But we'll have to see what happens. Firstly on Sunday against Aston Villa.
Yeah, definitely. I think the reason why I think maybe we've put down 12 is because that would, like Barry said, that would put us to plus 15 over City, without them playing any games. You think they've got Leicester, you'd expect 4 or 5, considering what Chelsea did to them and other teams this season. 5 there, that's 10 to go with 3 games to go, and one of them's Birmingham. they put another 6 and then 1-0, 1-0, it would be enough just. But I think by 1 goal. I think that's really 12.
If you're going to go down that route, I think effectively what we need to do is against Aston Villa and West Ham, we need to match whatever they do to Leicester and Birmingham. And I think if we do that, then either side of that, we should hopefully be all right. I think those are the 2 big ones. Whatever they score in those 2 games, we need to match. Would seem reasonable.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's going to be the thing, isn't it? Just matching what they do. We're going to come back to this a little bit later in terms of City playing first on Sunday. But just in terms of the goal scorers then, obviously our goal scorers have come from a couple of players this season. Other than that, you're looking at 2s and 3s from a few other players as well. Where are these goals going to come from then? If we need to score, let's say 10, 12 goals in the next 3 games, we're not scoring too many at the moment. We are scoring a couple, 1 at West Ham, 1 at Brighton, 3 against Everton, obviously at Old Trafford, 3 at Reading, 4 at Leicester. We are scoring some goals, but maybe not as much as maybe fans want. So Barry, just firstly yourself, where are these goals going to come from if we need to get these big numbers that we're hoping for?
Well, they come from the players that have already shown they can do it. I mean, listen, we know full well that the players can, because they've shown their capability. Martha Thomas, if you just take the team as we've played it before, Martha Thomas is more than capable of scoring goals. She's just scored in a international game, even though it was offside, but she took the goal by taking it around the goalkeeper. So she's shown she's got that composure and is capable of doing it. Leah scored, obviously, against Brighton and showed her tenacity in that one. Alessia Russo is our top goal scorer with 9 goals so far this season. So she's chasing up the scoring charts as well. Tooney's been fantastic in terms of assists. Zellam's been good in terms of assists and scoring from dead ball situations. So, are they there? Absolutely. Jackie Gronin scored an absolute screamer in the international window. So she's capable of doing it if she lets fly. Lorna Boris has scored a couple. All of these players are more than capable of scoring goals. As we said before a couple of weeks ago, it's not can we score, it's what we do with the ball when we've got it, and those decisions when we're in the final third is choosing to shoot rather than pass if you've got an actual shot on goal and you've got a chance, rather than maybe passing it where somebody's got to try and stretch to get onto the ball. It would be much easier to take that shot and hope that the keeper's going to parry it so that it takes a bit of the power off of that. It's that decision making. It's having that confidence and bravery to have a go. What we're going to need is for those people who we've just mentioned to take the ball by the horns, basically, and say, do you know what? We're going to need to lead this. We've got to go, not Martin Ho, gung ho. That's what we're going to need to go, because we need goals. It's as simple as that. So if we don't do that, then there's no goals coming. But I have absolute faith that our front line has the ability to score. They just need to believe in themselves the same way that we believe in them. And perhaps we should move round to the behind the goal when it gets to West Ham. We can all just suck the ball in and blow it if West Ham have a shot, in the hope that it will disappear.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a blowing bubbles reference then, after your Martin Ho one that you just did there.
Far too obvious, Connor. Far too obvious.
Ian's in the comments there just saying, we have a lot of players in the score, but it is dependent on them taking the chances like they mean it. And I think that goes back to, Barry, your point. We're getting into good positions. We're just not pulling the trigger a lot of the time. Certainly recently, when the confidence was flowing and we were on this kind of 4-0, 5-0 run of games, they were pulling the trigger and it was flowing naturally. But at the moment, it doesn't seem to be the case. So, John, where do you kind of start? Oh, go on, Barry.
I was just going to say, some of the shots they are taking, they're just not on target as much. So they've just got to, aim for the net, and you'll be surprised how often it goes in.
Yeah, 100%. What's the phrase? Something about a raffle and something like, if you don't buy a ticket, you can't win the raffle.
Can't win the raffle. There we go. Love
so
it.
If you're not having shots on target, you're never going to score. That's a Michael Owen quote for you right there. John, where do you stand on this then? We're talking a lot of goals here. It sounds quite negative for me to say I don't think that's possible in the games that we come up against. But if we are to do that, where do you think it's going to come from? It can't come from 2 players. Like I said earlier, we've got a couple of players on, obviously Russo and Tooney. Zellam's chipped in with a few, albeit a couple of penalties in there, and Galton. But other than that, like I said, you're talking 2s and 3s. So if we're talking these numbers, 12 goals, 3 games, where are they going to come from? Surely they can't all come from 1 or 2 players.
No, it's really going to be sort of like a whole team effort thing, really. Besides the obvious forward sort of things, we needing some from sort of like the less obvious midfielders, and maybe even a couple from from the centre backs, from set pieces, that sort of thing. It'd be good to see maybe them scoring a few as well. From the attacking set pieces. So it'll have to be a sort of major team effort to make up the numbers, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know the actual stat. I'm going to get it up while Andrew's giving his thoughts in a moment on where the goals have come from. Because, like I said, we mentioned Zellum. She's got quite a few from midfield. Obviously, Ella Toon, if you can count her as a midfielder, has obviously got quite a few from midfield as well. But other than that, you're looking at, I think, I'm going to have to double check it, but I'm pretty sure Lad's on 2 or 3. Bo Reese is on 2 or 3. And then you're looking at Honor. And then I don't think any of the rest of the back line. I think Maria's got 1 this season. Other than that, you're just looking at your forward line. Whereas I think if you look at other teams, they've got goal. They've got their out and out. With Chelsea, it's Sam Kerr. Arsenal's got obviously Miedemar and a range of talent there, and City, Lauren Hemp, and all these kinds of players. But their goals are spread out across the whole team. A lot of players chip in with goals every now and then. So, Andrew, do you kind of agree? It kind of goes back to Man United men's team. I think a couple of years ago it was mentioned that United need goal scorers all over the pitch, and we're just relying on one player. Do you see that a little bit at the moment, or do you think that as has been said, the capability is there? We're just not taking these chances at the moment.
Yeah, I think the goals are going to come across from the whole team. We can't be just relying on 1 or 2 players, because that'll put them under more pressure to even score even more. I mean, let's say that front 3 of Martha Thomas, Russo, and Galton, they'll be chipping in with goals, but you got Toon behind and Zellum, and depending who Zellum's got alongside, whether it's going to be Hayley Ladd, because defensively, Hayley Ladd's been back into the defence as well, but. Yeah, and also we've got other goal scorers coming, like Lucy Staniforth. I know she's going to be back in the side as well, so she might be able to chip in with a few as well. But let's say it's not like United are not in. We're coming into after this international break. We're in a good run of form, so we've won the last. I think we're on a 5-game unbeaten run. So it's not like we're trying to find some form and the goals have dried up and now the goals have been flowing. And I just think. When those chances do come for us, we've got to be clinical and not, be wasteful. But those players will they'll be putting themselves under pressure to get those goals, and obviously want to be ahead of City. But yeah, I just think it's got to come across. The goals are going to come across the whole team, not just relying on 1 or 2 players, because it just wouldn't. Like you said, with the men's team, I think of Ronaldo this season. It's like. If we didn't have him, where would the men's team be? Not in the position we probably would be now. So yeah, we can't be relying just on 1 or 2 players for goals.
Yeah, 100%. Just quickly, Barrett, before you jump in on that, I do have the scoring stats up. I'm trying to bring it up on screen, so I'm not the only one looking at it. So you're looking there. Now, the worrying thing for me, I granted that is quite small. The worrying thing for me there, looking at that, is we've only got 4 players above 3 goals this season. That's Zellum, Tooney. This is just in the WSL. Russo, Galton, Tooney, and Zellum are the only 4 players above 3 goals. Like I said, and then you're looking at 2s and 3s. I think when you're talking about goals that we need to score, I think that's a big problem because, like I said, you've got Builder and Ladd on 2, Thomas on 3, Staniforth 2, and then you're kind of looking at, obviously Mary Earps is not going to be bagging goals, but you know what I mean? If we were looking at goal difference, I think it's a bit late in the season now to start looking at, we need to score loads more because we've got 3 games, 2 of them are against hard opponents. Well, yeah, you could say they're all pretty difficult games, but yeah, it's an interesting look at that. And I'm pretty sure if I look at Man City's in a moment, that their goals will be a lot more spread out than ours. Sorry, Barry, I know you wanted to make a point of that.
Well, no, I was just going to say, based on exactly what you were just saying there, and I mean, you look at the top goal scorers, obviously, that Sam Kerr's top at the moment with 16, but Chelsea have scored 52 goals in the WSL this season. So if my maths is correct, that's 36 goals that have been scored elsewhere. That isn't just Sam Kerr. And again, when you look through how they've done in terms of goals, you're then looking at Beth England as your next one there with 7. Frank Kirby's got 6, Fleming with 5, Harder with 5. And I think really when you start looking at them, Wrighton's got 5. And that's where your difference is coming in. It's really talking 2 or 3 extra goals from each person. Arsenal, they've only scored 50 this season, and 12 of those was from Miedemar. And actually, as far as Arsenal go, you've then got 6 from Kim Little, 8 from Beth Mead, 5 from Katie McCabe, 4 from Black Stenius, considering she only came just after Christmas. That's not too bad for her. And then there's a bit of a gap from there. So I think from our point of view, when we then point out the fact that we've scored 40 goals this season, which is obviously less than the others, but you add the fact that Russo's got 9 of them. As you've just said, you do have Galton, you do have 2, you do have Zelen with 7, 6 and 5. But I think what we're saying there is that it is spread out, because when you add those up, like you said, so you've got 9, 16, 22, 27 there, you're then talking only 13 goals spread out across the rest of the team. So I think really that there is an argument that you do need sort of 3, 4 goal scorers who are going to be getting there regularly. They're not going to score every single week, but Kerr might take it this week, Harder does it the next week, Russo might do it this week, Toon does it the next week. It is a case of doing that, but you do need more of them, especially in the midfield, like you say, to get them sort of 5 goals, 6 goals a season where possible. And I think that's where we need to build up on, really. So I think it would be perhaps mildly unfair to say that it's not been spread out across the team, because I think it has been. It's just the volume of ones that they've scored hasn't been as many. It's just the odd one for people as they come on to play. Like on Abacha, she scored a superb goal right at the beginning of the season, pretty much, and then neither hide nor hair again afterwards. You could argue she should have had a second for the one that eventually ended up in Old Trafford being Russo's goal. But, I suppose that's what I'm getting at, really, is that we know they've got the capability all across the pitch. So it's not a case of they can't. It's just a case we need them to be in the right position. Even Millie Brighton, Chelsea, she's always in that sort of 18-yard box when the ball's up there for a corner or a set piece, and she regularly gets onto it. She was doing that for England as well. So it's just about that. It's what I said, it's bravery. We just need our team to be brave and to go for it now. It's full-on Braveheart. We need to get ourselves up on there. I don't care if they do the hacker, or if they start, making all funny faces at them. I don't care what they do. What I want from them is just full-on 100% attack and bravery. They've got to go for it now. It's now or never. Make it or don't.
Yeah, 100%. You're talking about and being brave and things there. The last point just on this, then before we move on to a couple of comments that have come out today. Obviously, City are the earlier kickoff come Sunday. Now, is that going to put the pressure on us? Does anyone think to go out there and the need to score goals? Because if City go, well, they're at home. If Leicester go to City and get turned over, let's say City beat them 5 or 6. Do you think that's going to be in the back of some of our players' minds that, oh God, City now are a level? I'm pretty sure they'll go ahead of us. If City beat them any more than 3, they'll jump us in the league. So this will be the first time in a while that City have been ahead of us. So do you think that will add a bit of pressure? Barry, come to you first, I think, on this, that maybe it'll be in the back of some of our players' mind that they've just seen City beat, potentially Leicester. And we're speculating here. Leicester might go there and beat them. We don't know. But you'd imagine if it goes to script, City are going to put 5 or 6 past them. Could that be a worry, potentially, that we're playing a bit later in the day?
Do I think it's going to be at the back of their mind? No, I don't. I think it's going to be very firmly at the front of their mind, because what that then does is it flips the script. Where we've been talking about we need goals, if they go and score 6, we're actually in the same position that they were in when they kicked off. In order for us to go ahead, really, we want to be getting back to where we were. We're going to need to get some goals. The most important thing in that game will be to win. And that's where the pressure then comes in. It'll be that first goal. If they've jumped ahead of us, that's all of a sudden now putting the pressure from just, we'd like to go and score 5 or 6, to actually being, well, now we just need to score 1, because if we don't get 1 goal, we're not going to get 3 points. And although the draw would then still take us above them, it then puts the chance for third place entirely in City's hands. And that's, of course, before they play Birmingham. I can't. It's just so painful. So yeah, it will 100%, and they wouldn't be human if it didn't. They wouldn't be human if it didn't. So the difference is this is what it's like when you want to play at the top end of the WSL. You know, we're not sitting there playing for scraps like Villa are, like West Ham are. You know, we're very much fighting for the top end. And this is what they're going to need to deal with. And when we were talking about how we get to being in the top three, this is it. We need people now that are going to step up and realise that now's the time to dig deep and now's the time to get those goals. You know, so stand up and be counted, or sit down and finish fourth.
John, where do you stand on this then? Do you think that will put a little bit of pressure on us going into our game?
Yeah, I think it will. It'll be interesting because it's probably one, like you say, for like the first time or not for a long time since City played before us, and whereas obviously normally we've sort of played before they have, I think, most of this season. So yeah, if like you say, if they go and score a bag full against Leicester, then it does put us the onus a lot more on us to sort of get a big result down at Villa. So I think it will have a bit of an impact. I mean, obviously the coaching staff will obviously try and sure they'll do the best to keep the players' minds focused on the task at hand. But I think it will factor into it somewhat. Yes.
And Andrew, do you kind of back that up? And do you think that they should be thinking about it a little bit? That maybe that's a good thing, a bit of pressure that this isn't just guaranteed anymore. I'm sure they're thinking about it anyway, but that little bit of, because we've all been talking about it, and the Skinner, I'm sure all the players are well aware that yes, dropping out the top three is a possibility, but it will be reality come by the time we kick off potentially. So it will actually be a reality of like a sudden hit of, oh god, we actually have dropped out of it now, and now we need to kick on.
I think it's always going to be in the back of their minds. So if City do win on Sunday before us, then it's going to be that little bit of added pressure. But obviously, we can't rely on City dropping points to make our lives any easier. I mean, I think from what I was reading earlier, City haven't dropped any points against a team below them in the table since losing to West Ham in October. So, I mean, City they've got work to do to get themselves over the line, and obviously as expected, they're probably going to win all their games against Leicester, Brighton and Birmingham, which are all at home for them. So it's just that last game away at Reading's might prove key. And I think from United's point of view as well, Skinner's been saying for the last few months, he doesn't really care what Man City are doing. He says it's correct in what he's saying, is that there's nothing we can do about City's results. The only thing we can control is what we do. So, and obviously we've just got to keep up the form that we've had before the international break, and essentially these last three games are going to be essentially cup finals. So we've got to just do our job first, and then worry about City afterwards. So if it goes down to the final day, then if we do what we can, then we'll look at the table and see what City have done, whether they do get ahead of us, or if not, then we'll be the ones celebrating at the end.
Fingers crossed. And Ian saying there that hopes it won't add pressure. First and foremost, getting the points is the priority. I do agree with that. Exactly there. If we score 4 and they score 5, it's going to become irrelevant anyway. What happens, and I think it is. I know it's on the thumbnail. I know we've discussed it the last kind of 25 minutes, but I've said for a few weeks now that our only hope of getting in is City slipping up somewhere now. I think we've not chucked our chance at going for goal difference, but like I just said about 10 minutes ago, that I think it's a bit late now for us to be looking at goal difference, because like I said, 12 or 15 in 3 games is just, you're talking 6 and 7s in the next 2 games. I just can't see that at all. Go on, Barry. I can see you.
I was just going to say, whatever happens, there's going to be pressure. Even if they lose, even if City somehow lose the game, the pressure's still there, because now they're in a position where they've still got to go and score. The pressure's going to be exactly the same, because now they need to take advantage of it. So the pressure's there, but then this is what I'm saying. It's WSL football, the UEFA Women's Champions League. You know, we're not talking about the Conti Cup, lovely though it might be, or any of those sorts of things, or the WNL Plate, or the Hertfordshire Senior Cup. This is the Champions League football. If you want it, there's going to be pressure. Just as there'll be pressure when you start going into group games for Champions League or the two-leg playoff that we'd have to go for that City were knocked out of this year. So, pressure comes with it. This is a really good breeding ground to see how they handle pressure as a group.
No, 100%. I can't find a place to disagree with you on that, because it is very true that, and even if we get in, we talk about this all the time, the pressure's going to be there next season as well. Regardless of what happens this season, the pressure to go again next season will be even higher. So, speaking of pressure, let's link me on quite nicely into some comments that Carla Ward has obviously come out and said today. Now, a couple of the points that she said I don't think is unusual. I think it's right for any manager to obviously she's going to back her own team, but some of the things that she said has started a bit of conversation online. Just read a couple of them out. She's saying the pressure is on them. We're not making up the numbers, and we'll continue to play the way that we want, but there's no pressure on us. It's all on Manchester United to come over and beat us. They are Man United fans, and they want one thing. Seen a few people say that they want 5 or 6-0, so hopefully we can dampen their spirits. Now, for me, that's expected. She's going to back a team. She's not going to come out and say, "Oh yeah, we're going to get beat." She's going to back her own players and back the staff that she's got around her. But Barry, where do you kind of stand on what she said there? Then that it's up to us to go there and beat them, rather than I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but do you think that's her kind of saying that they're going to set up in a way maybe to stop us from winning, and they get a bit of joy out of that, or where do you stand on that?
I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's all mind games, isn't it? That's what they do, which it makes me laugh, because as I say, Aston Villa don't really have all that much to play for. Really, a win won't move them up in the table at all. There's no major dramas for them at all. They are, unfortunately, as much as she says they're not, they are making up the numbers. It's just they're just finishing off their season, and that's why they've got no pressure. So yes, that does help them, because they can go out and play with that sort of freedom. Doesn't matter whether they lose 5-0, win 5-0. It's no skin off their nose. They can literally just go and enjoy the game of football, knowing they're not going down and they've got nothing else to fight for. So 100, she's not said anything that's wrong. She's 100% right. We've just spent 25 minutes talking about how there's loads of pressure on us. So it just goes to show you she's not wrong. But it is that mind game, because when you see that publicised from another manager, it's one thing to have, 4 blokes sat in their living rooms having a little conversation about pressure. Let's be brutally honest. When it's from the opposition's manager, these are the sort of things that you go and stick up normally on the wall. Well, you wouldn't want to go and put that on the wall, would you? Because, it's talking all about pressure. That's a negative thing. But are they going to see it? Of course they are, because, women's football Twitter isn't the largest Twitter you're ever going to get. So I'm sure they're going to see something like it. They'll be tagged in, or they'll see it somehow. I'm sure some of them follow some of these journalists. Or maybe they've seen it on Sky Sports. So, look, the pressure's there. We can't hide it. Whether she says it, whether we say it, it's there. And it's going to be all about how we deal with it. Really, what she's got to say for us shouldn't matter, because it's all about, as you just said, Andrew, as Skinner would say, it's about what we do. It's not about what anybody else does. And so that's what we've got to do. We've got to ignore young Carla and, hope that she's eating her words come 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, John, Andrew, was there anything for yourselves that kind of stuck out that she said? Like I said, she's always going to back a team. But I think the fact she's mentioned, seen a few people say that they want 5 or 6-0. I think, we know a couple of people, obviously, that have been saying that. I think we'd all like that, 5 or 6-0. So she's clearly very aware that we need goals and going for goal difference. So, John, just firstly yourself, was there anything in there that you thought, or is it exactly like Barry said, it's just all a bit of mind games to maybe get under some of the United players and put a little bit of extra pressure on?
Yeah, I think, like you say, just a bit of an attempt to sort of, wind our team up a bit, just sort of, increase the pressure a bit. It's like Barry was saying, it's a free hit for Villa. They've got nothing to fear relegation wise or anything like that now. So they might just just set up really defensive to try and frustrate us, knowing that we're sort of out on needing a lot of goals. So they'll probably just do that and sort of take a bit of sinister enjoyment out of trying to frustrate us, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Andrew, for yourself?
Yeah, I agree with Barry as well. The mind games, it's just like trying to deflect all the pressure onto us, which we're going to have our own pressure anyway. But I think for Aston Villa, it's like, they're ninth in the table. They want to finish better than they did last season, which was, I think they finished 10th. So, and they've also got more points this time around. So, and obviously they're coming off the back of a win before the international break, which I think I remember rightly. I think the international break before that, Villa had been on a losing run and won the last game before that international break. So, and for Villa as well, they've been more better away from home. So, and I think they've only won once at home and compared to 5 times on the road. So, plus I think this is Villa's last game at home this season. So on Sunday they'll want to slightly improve their home record, and obviously trying to get the win over us. Villa will try, because obviously Carla Wood will be looking to improve their team for next year and hopefully push further up the table as well. But there's nothing surprising in their comments. She's like trying to say for the Villa players, they've got nothing to fear. It's just like, just go out there and play. Whereas there's a tiny bit more pressure on us, but we've just got to control what we do, and then. Obviously, I think an early goal would be key, because I think when we saw them against West Ham, I just think Villa can be prone to some mistakes. So if we exploit those mistakes, we can, hopefully be scoring a good few goals. But we'll just have to see on there Sunday.
That's going to be the key. I don't want to turn this into a preview, obviously, for Villa, because that is coming out tomorrow with Benny and Matt. But I think we need to get that early goal, because otherwise I think it could be a long evening. And just talking about mind games as well, something else Carla Ward said just briefly was the 3 players that she mentioned were out or were doubts. I think she said it was Alicia Lehman, Hannah Hampton, and there was somebody else. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was. But I've seen a lot of Villa fans saying that that's mind games, and they'll all be on the starting sheet come 5 o'clock on Sunday. Just moving on to the next set of quotes that I want to go through, and I'm hoping my laptop doesn't, because it's really starting to overheat here. So if I suddenly go, that's why, because I'm trying to share my screen. So just 2 quotes from that Emma Sanders has put out for us, both on contracts, both in relation to the 2 players that we all want contract news on, Jackie and Honor. Now I've seen a lot of, not negative response to these quotes, but a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, that's that. They're going." Now, I don't think it's as black and white as that, personally, unless I let all you guys have your say on that. But just the key points there. I can hear myself. For me, is just saying there. This is in relation to Jackie. She's a big part of the plans of the club moving forward. She's been influential in the games she plays and works hard behind the scenes. We'll continue to do that and work hard behind the scenes so we can develop the squad and add to what we have when we need to. In contrast to what Martin has said about Honor, we'll continue to work with her moving forward. She's very well thought of in the playing room and staff. She continues to deliver for us every week. She's a massive part of what we do. We'll keep working with Honor. Now, that last line for me, I don't know how you guys have interpreted that, but that to me means that they're working with Honor. That could mean 2 things. That could be working with her on a trading sense, or working with her on the contract. And maybe it's not as sure maybe as some of the other contracts. So Barry, just yourself first on your kind of initial thoughts on those 2 and those small little updates. They're never going to come out and say, yeah, it's done, when it's not. But is there anything, am I reading too much into that last line there, or what do you think?
No, I mean, we had a little look at it, didn't we, when we were just before we came online, and I think how I read that, just trying to go between the lines, the inference I take from that is it sounds like we've definitely got Jackie for another year at least, and that he's activating that. It sounds like with Honor, we're still trying to convince her that this is the place to stay. And it's almost as if what we said was true, which is that with Honor, it very well could hinge on whether or not we make it into the Champions League spots, which we, certainly speculated on quite a lot lately. So, I read that very much as everything else he's put in there, all the filler, is lovely. But I think the key bits there is that he clearly states that Jackie is under contract, so that makes it sound like Jackie's not going anywhere. He could easily say the same thing for Honor if they both got the same option. So I think that just makes it sound, to me, like Jackie's got a contract that's being extended and Honor doesn't at the moment. And clearly, if it's because she's thinking of going to somewhere like Barcelona, you're not going to just sit there and trigger that extension necessarily if she doesn't want to be here, because that could sometimes cause more problems. So, it's nice to hear they'll continue to work hard. They'll keep trying to develop the squad, add to that when we need to. All of that's lovely. But I think the key bits are the first sentence and the last sentence. Jackie's part of the football club and under contract. Brilliant. In fact, she's a big part of the plans. We don't get that for Honor. You would think if it was going to be the same, it would be Jackie and Honor are both big parts of it. And so there's a very clear difference as you speak. So, yeah, to me, that sounds like Jackie, yes. Honor is dependent on how we finish. And it might not even be Champions League. It might literally be, have we pushed them close enough? Do we go and beat Chelsea still in that last game? It is just goal difference. And can we then twist our arm to stay? So I think it's like that. I am going to request, when Andrew does his, that we all just close our eyes, because when you do that, it's like hearing Skinner speak. It's brilliant. I just did it a little bit earlier, and it's like, it's Mark Skinner. So I'm going to listen to all this contract news and pretend it's actually Skinner telling me they're both staying.
Just before you do your best Skinner impression, Andrew, I think I agree with what you're saying there, and it is going to be hard for Honor when Barca do come knocking. They probably already are. Barca tonight, everyone thought it was going to be a tighter game against Wolfsburg, and they turned Wolfsburg over 4-0 in the first half and beat them 5-1 over the game. So they've pretty much confirmed place in the next round of the Champions League in the first leg. And that's what I mean. If Barcelona come calling, it's going to be very hard for her to turn down a team that just seem unstoppable at the moment. I don't think there's any team at the moment that are going to beat Barcelona. So, Andrew, do you kind of agree with Barry then that it's those first line, it's the first and the last line, the first line of this Jackie quote talking about, she's under contract, and then I'll just bring the Honor one back up. That last line there that we'll keep working with Honor. Would that suggest to you then maybe that it's not quite done yet?
I feel like with Honor, it might be just a bit touch and go at the minute, whereas Jackie, I just think she's probably going to sign for another year. I mean, with Jackie, she's a key player, and she's been playing more recently as well. And obviously, she's both efficient in both defence and attack as well. But the one thing we're missing from Jackie at the moment is that goal that we want to see as well. But she does offer more than just more valuable than just netting goals for us. But it would be nice to see her, maybe score 1 or 2 in the last 3 games to help us over the line for the Champions League qualification. In terms of Honor, as I said, it's a bit more touch and go with that. As I said, there's no better fallback in the league at the moment than Honor. So it's I think for us to, we need to keep our best talent and also add quality to this team as well. So I think it would be a positive sign if Honor was to, sign well. United extend the by another season, but also she extends it by even further, so she stays for even a couple of seasons as well. So I know there's Barcelona apparently knocking at the door, and she obviously wants to play Champions League football, but hopefully we're the ones, delivering that for her. So it says, with Honor, I wanted to stay, but it's what she thinks is the best, for her career. So does she think that's with United come the end of the season, and if we do get Champions League or not, or she wants to, pastures new. So be interesting to see how it all works out with her.
Yeah, 100%. Barry was covering his eyes then. He was listening to you with great intent. I'm just going to pre-warn everybody. My Wi-Fi thing is flashing up me. So I'm nervously looking at that, thinking, we got about 20 minutes left. I'm hoping it holds out until the end. It never does this. I don't know why all of a sudden it started doing this. Paul, I see your comment. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. I'm just going to get John's thoughts on these two quotes, and then we'll move on to the final topic there before I get to your comment. But John, what do you reckon about these two quotes? And we said this last week. I think that every single week now, they're going to be asked about Jackie and Honor, but they're not the only two players out of contract. There's a few others that are still out of contract. So where do you stand with these two then, John? Is it maybe a bit of nerves seeing that last line, or are you confident that we can get both of those over the line?
Yeah, I think it certainly the quote about Jackie reads quite a bit more positively than the one for Honor. So I'm sort of quietly confident that that Jackie will stay, certainly next year at least. But it sounds as though they're that they're really trying with Honor. But like I say, just with those links to Spain and Barcelona, it might just be a bridge too far for us at the moment to keep her, I think, unfortunately.
Would you accept it, John, if we put a clause in there that maybe if we don't get it this season, that we keep them both for an extra year and say, right, we'll have one more chance. If we don't get it next season, then we'll let you go on a free or something like that? Or would you rather get some kind of fee this summer if their heads were turned?
I think, for what fee you might end up getting, I think I'd rather see him stay for another year, sort of thing. Really, to be honest, I think what would probably get benefit of another year of out at the club would probably be more worthwhile, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's hard not to disagree with that. But it's like I said, it's strange to me that we're talking about these two contracts every week, but they're not the only two that are out. I think Russo is out. I believe Millie Turner as well, and Zellum, I think, is another one that is also out.
Russo as well. She's got an option, but then from what I'm just reading earlier, there's no options on Diane Caldwell or Lucy Staniforth or even Martha Harris. I'm thinking Martha Harris is probably likely to leave, but the other two, I don't know whether United would look to offer new contracts to Caldwell and Staniforth. So I think Skinner said, we're working hard to renew the people that we feel will be part of this team going forward. So it'll be interesting who gets renewals or not and who's moving on.
So you shouldn't have started that with Skinner said. You should have just said it and we would have known it was him. But those last three that you mentioned, I genuinely think, if they go, it would be sad because there's an emotional connection there. But I don't think it's the end of the world. I just genuinely don't think we're as worried about people like Russo, because Russo is, a diehard Man United fan since she was younger. I think people just assume that Russo would stay because she's so closely connected with Man United. Zellum, again, childhood Man United fan. Yes, she had that time when she, played around with the Scousers, which was a bit depressing. But, ultimately, she's United through and through. So I don't think, you feel almost like they're less likely to go in. But obviously, there's no smoke without fire. So these people talking about Honor, there's obviously a reason for it. I don't know why it was Jackie decided to grow so big and why hers has particularly gone over other people. But I would agree with you that, it is only them that's being mentioned. But ironically, like you say, Russo plays every single game, grown and not so much. But yeah, everybody's going mad for our super subs. So, swings and roundabouts. But I think there's less fear that those people will leave whilst we're doing well and showing progression. Would be my guess.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's exactly it. I think they're expected, some of the others, to stick around, whereas Jackie and Honor, I think, particularly Jackie, I think she I said this a lot on this channel, she's at a stage in her career now where she needs to maybe be looking, what does she want? She's coming to the peak of her career. What does she want now in terms of her career progression? So that's going to rumble on all through the summer. We're probably going to have plenty of shows talking about Jackie and Honor, Russo, and all the other players that are out of contract come the summer. Barry, you've got an interesting discussion point for us for the last kind of 10 minutes or so. Do you want to lead us into that one?
Yeah. So basically, we've had lots of conversations with regards to how the devs have done, the development team, and how well they've played. Double winners. It's nice to say that about Manchester United again. So my question really was, we've spoken a lot about the number of people that could come. If you could only have one person who developed the squad who could get more game time, so you're stood there with Skinner and you're saying we've got to play this person, which one are you pushing? Which one do you want to see more of, and for what reason? So, for example, I sit there and I think, as much as all of these people are doing well, Maria Edwards has done fantastic with her goals. Carrie Jones has spent a lot of time in the United first team and around the first team. Poppy Lawson's another one that's been mentioned. But for me, I'm a sentimental old fool. And so I can't help it, but I kind of want to see more of Solskjaer just because of who her dad was, which is really sad. And it's not just because that's unfair to Kana, because she scored a lot of goals. She's our second top goal scorer of the season. So she's very capable. It's not just a case of let's have that person just because. But what I'm getting out of that is that, what a wonderful thing that would be. It's a bit like when you had the Neville brothers and the Charlton brothers playing. The thought of having that and seeing Solskjaer not just play, but to score a goal. I mean, what would be great was if she came on for Chelsea and scored the winning goal against that one. Could you imagine? And Solskjaer has won it. That's what I'd be shouting anyway. But so, yeah, that's kind of where I am with it. But obviously, the main one I would actually pick, if I was being sensible about it, probably be Maria, because she scored that many goals. And we're talking about needing goals. She would be the one that potentially I would push forward. So over to the rest of you. What do you think? Who would you most like to see? I would need Murphy. That's a good one.
Yeah, Niamh Murphy's a really good shout, actually. Again, another one who's kind of been in and out of. I think she was in the matchday squad actually a couple of months back as well. So she's had experiences kind of in and out. Like you said there, you've mentioned a couple there, Kana and Maz, and there's just a lot of good players. I'll let you two, John and Andrew, have your say first before I say mine, because I think there's a lot of players I think that are getting a bit too good for the devs level now, and are ready for that maybe loan move or at least more involvement in the first team. But John, Andrew, is there anyone, or do you agree with Barry? Maybe someone like Carrie Jones or Maria Edwards obviously is the standout there.
Yeah, I'd go with Maria Edwards. It'd be I think it'd be exciting to see a forward come through into the first team and see what they can do. Scored goals for fun in the development side. It somebody like that. I think definitely that I'd like to see get a shot in the first team sooner rather than later, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I was being like Barry, being a bit sentimental, I'd go with Kana Solskjaer, but to say just for the fact that who her dad is as well. But it would be nice to see her break into the first team even more, and obviously Carrie Jones as well. But not being too sentimental, obviously the likes of Maria Edwards as well. Also, I'm interested to see how like Kira Barry and Rebecca May as well. I've heard stuff about them as well, so it'd be interesting to see how many of them do step up, and and obviously I was going to say Niamh Murphy as well. So it's just how many of the players that are Skinner is looking at to bring through into next season. Are some of them ready to make the step up now? Like you said, Maria Edwards is scoring lots of goals, so it could be potentially bringing her in for next season. Obviously, she might not be starting every game because obviously that front three we've got at the moment is working so well, but it's a good option to maybe have off the bench. So it's interesting times with Skinner, with players he wants to bring in, but also looking at our development squad, who he might want to bring through, and give those players a chance. That's what United's built on, giving youth players a chance to progress through to the first team as well.
I counted 6 you mentioned there, so remember it was 1. So which one of those 6 would you choose?
Probably Maria Edwards. If I'll say not being sentimental, I'm going with Kana. But yeah, be Maria's because from what I've heard about, she's pretty good. So yeah, be interesting to see her development progress next season as well.
So from Kana to Connor.
I'm intrigued. I've just seen Nat's comment there. Now, if anyone knows Nat, you're probably the the person to go to when it comes to the devs. So I'll be intrigued to see which one player. I know Nat, you'd probably love them all going up into the first team. But which one player you'd like in there? I've not seen them too much. I've seen bits here and there. Like I said, Carrie Jones has been in and around the first team, obviously more than most. A name that's not been mentioned, Eleanor. Fucking heck, give me your words out. Eleanor Ashton. Propped up with a lot of goals this season as well. Like I said, I think there's a few players in there that I just think are getting a bit too good for that level. And their time now is, as Amy's just said there, getting them on loan into the Championship or Tier 3 just to get some game time. We speak to a lot of players up and down the pyramid, and the one thing they say is you need game time. You need experience against full-grown teams, established teams in the Championship, and even Tier 3. Tier 3 is a lot stronger than people think. There's a lot of good sides in there. So some loadings down into those leagues, I don't think will do these players any harm. And it also gets them out of their comfort zone a little bit, because I don't think, although it's great, the devs are doing fantastic at the moment, and the work Charlotte's doing is really commendable down there. But you need to test yourself. Then on top of that, they're looking like they're going to win the game against Chelsea, 3-1 obviously from the first leg, beat Birmingham in the cup final. Now it's time for some of these players maybe just to go and test themselves somewhere else. Get yourself away from the group and into the Championship or Tier 3. In terms of one player for me, like I said, the obvious one is obviously Maria, just because she's the one that stands out. She's scoring pretty much every game. But I think there's just so many. Like I said, you could go through the whole squad. May's been mentioned. Chloe Williams is another one that's not been mentioned. Another quality player in there as well. But yeah, I think if you're asking me which one's most likely to break in for next season, Carrie Jones is obviously the obvious one because she spent the most time around the first team. But I wouldn't be surprised, as Amy and Nat have mentioned, Neve Murphy, I wouldn't be surprised if she gets a few shots into next season. It all depends on the cup competitions as well. If we get a favourable Conti Cup draw and we've got a couple of games in there that we can afford to rotate, in a couple of favourable FA Cup draws, then maybe you might see some of those girls in there. So it's tough because, like you said, you don't want to rush them straight in because the gap is quite big. But yeah, I agree. They need some loans. So yeah, my one player, I'll go with Neve Murphy as well. I think she's been, from what I've seen and heard off the experts, the people that go week in, week out, she's another one to really watch out for, into next season as well.
That one came from the left field. Beforehand, I'm probably going to go Carrie Jones, Barry. I'm probably going to go Carrie Jones. Then he throws Maz Edwards in. I'm going to go all that. Neve Murphy, actually. Out of nowhere. Blindsided. What have that.
I mean, the thing is, as we've discussed, there's so many good players in there, isn't there, to choose from? But yeah, I'll go with Neve just to be different. And it's not like she doesn't deserve to have her name in there as well. So,
absolutely. They've done really well. They should be proud.
100%. Just moving on slightly then, John, I'm going to let you kind of not end the show, but this might open up a little bit of debate, and I'm going to bring the graphic up. So we started this last week. We've still not put this on Twitter yet, but I will do. I'm working on it. So we're doing our All for United Player of the Seasons. Everyone involved, so that's people in the comments now. If you're watching live, put your 2 names in there. Everyone gets 2 votes. We're going to collate all this together, and we'll put that into a top 5, and that will be then obviously our All for United Player of the Seasons. Now, I can show you how it's looking at the moment. It's quite close. There's only 5 names on here, though, at the moment. So, as you can see there, our graphic shows that Alessia Russo's out in front, as most people probably expect. Leah Galton's shortly behind, and then there's a couple of votes in there for Tooney Earps and Hayley Ladd as well, with a mention. So we started the voting off last week. There's a few more names added to the list, but obviously we're going to update this until the end of the season. John, you've had 53 minutes and 45 seconds to have a think. Have you come to 2 names that you think you're going to go for?
I have, yes.
Well, we has. Do you want to give us your 2 names and why then? If you've got those 2.
It says it's the 2 most popular on there actually. Alessia Russo and Leah Galton. I've gone for. People are mostly down to the volume of important goals. I think they've sort of both scored throughout the season, really, and put more Russo for goals that she scored, and Leah just for how consistently sort of well she's played all season really, and chipped in with some very important goals as well, and obviously a few assists in there as well. So yeah, that's my 2 votes.
Yeah, it's hard not to look against it. I am a little bit surprised. I think that Leah's had a bad season, but I think, Barry, we were chatting before that, because I'm trying to narrow mine down. I've got it down to 5 at the moment for me personally, but I'm trying to think of players across the whole season. And, you could argue maybe Leah didn't get off to the best of starts, but, there's no doubt in what she's done in the second half of the season, especially. I think she is now, isn't she, our 3rd top scorer, maybe 2nd. She's on 7, isn't she, in the WSL or all comp. So, yeah, it's hard to disagree with that one as well. And Paul, yes, I have got yours on the list as well. It's going to be interesting towards the end of the season because I think there's going to be a few shouts. And if somebody crops up with a winner at Chelsea that sends us into the Champions League, I can see their votes skyrocketing just for that moment at the end of the season. So we shall see. I thought Barry was going to chip in with something then.
Well, I was only potentially going to mention, like you said about the whole Leah Gorton thing. I was really intrigued with that. I'd like to uncover a little bit more from John, because, like you say, I can see her being in the top 3 or 4, maybe even the top 5. But what would you say that Leah's provided more than, say, Ella Toon or Onabache or someone like that? How did you manage to get Leah into number 2? Because I really battled with that one, and I just. Like, I know the goal against Brighton was very good, but what swung it for you?
It just always seems to be Leah that seems to be the one that sort of, I don't know, she's just the one that scores like the really crucial times. I mean, like the brace against the 2 she scored against Reading last month. That really stood out for me. A really, really great performance that day. 2 very different goals, 2 really, really good finishes. So just for some reason, goals seem to just stand out a bit more for some reason.
Fair point.
Yeah, it is a fair point. I'm going to ask you, John, the last question from myself before we look to wrap up. I asked Barry and Andrew this last week as well. Do you think there's anyone as an outsider maybe that could slot in? Like I said, Hayley Ladd had a vote last week, and a couple of votes actually since then. But she's been in and out of the squad, obviously, this season. Do you think there's anyone that could potentially sneak their way in? Because I think, as you've seen from the list, it's going to be... Honor's not actually had a single vote yet from anybody. I will say that, which is very surprising to me. But do you think there's anyone that could surprise you?
That's surprising that nobody's gone for Honor. I think it'd probably be either be her or maybe Hannah Blundell, maybe. Probably maybe the other one that might be could perhaps, slight chance of a few votes, maybe outside chance. Those 2. Yeah,
potentially. It's going to be. I'm really intrigued to see the voting at the end of this. I think I've got an idea on who's going to. I said last week that I think Russo will probably run away with it towards the end. Like, especially if she gets a winner at Chelsea, that will tip the votes. But yeah, it's going to be interesting towards the end of the season. We're doing it a little bit early just to make sure we've got enough time to get everyone's votes in on that one. But yeah, if you haven't voted on it, I will put a tweet out. I said this last Friday and I haven't done it yet. I will put a tweet out in the next few days explaining, everyone gets 2 votes and we'll see at the end of the season. Before I let you all go, I'm going to ask you one final question because I always like doing this before a match day. What's predictions for Sunday? So Barry, I'll let you go first because you look so pleased to be doing it. What are you saying for Sunday then? And any goal scorers if you want to throw those in there as well.
I've got to stick with a positive head on, and I do think we're going to get an early goal, and I do think we're going to put a few past them. So I'm going to go 4-0. I don't think we'll quite get as many as I'd like us to, but I'm going to go 4-0. Well, that could be 5. We did score 5 passing last time, but I'm going to say 4. And I'm going to go with a goal from Russo. I think Martha Thomas is going to score. And Mary Earps. I don't know about any others. I don't know. It could be any other front line, but yeah, 4-0.
John?
I'm a bit torn between... I was thinking maybe 4-0, but I'm thinking maybe I might just be a bit more negative and say 3-0. I think I'll go 3-0. Just the fact that Villa have been good at frustrating teams just recently. They've sort of held out for in quite a few games against the sort of top three sides. So I think I'll be just sort of conservative and go 3-0 and Russo, Toon and Galton to score.
Yeah, 100%. And Andrew, for yourself?
I was going to say those are the two scores. I was sort of 3 or 4-0, but I think to be different, I think we'll match the reverse fixture. I think we won, was it 5-0 if I remember rightly? So hopefully we can get 5 goals. I mean, it will certainly be motivated for this game, and obviously I think the early goal will be key, and we've got to take full advantage of Villa's poor home record. So yeah, I'll be optimistic and go 5-0, and hopefully City don't win Sunday before us, or if they do, don't score as many goals as we do.
Let's be honest, those 3 games, those 3 points, we're going to need them, whatever happens. But I think this is, after 3 games we've got left, this is the one that's got the best chance to get happening, I think. So
yeah,
it's now or never, girls.
Yeah, I don't quite know on a prediction, to be honest. I remember the last game against Villa because it was, if anyone was there, you remember it was so foggy. You could not see, I couldn't see the other stands, let alone, when the ball was on the other side of the ground, the other side of the pitch, you couldn't see it. You were trying to make out who was on the ball and all sorts. But yes, it was 5-0 that day. I believe, actually, as well, I'm going to quickly fact check this because I hate saying stuff that's incorrect, especially when live. It puts me on the spot here.
Having a laugh, and you actually physically have in your Twitter bio about how good Max Verstappen is. You don't like telling lies. Come on.
we don't talk about that. Potentially. If she scores the winner at Chelsea, we'll definitely be on the pitch. I think Nat was nearly on the pitch when we went down there for the Conti Cup when Vilda scored. So we'll definitely be on there for that. And just quickly before I fact check this, Paul, yes, you are right. I think we said this when we came off air last Friday, that the fact that we've got so many to choose from shows that we've had a good season. Because if we had 1 or 2 players, you're talking that only 1 or 2 players have had a good season. The fact that there's 5 or 6, 7 names, I think, by the end of this voting that will be in the hat is a good sign. The one thing I wanted to fact check was how early the goals were. So we scored twice in the first 15 minutes last time we played Villa. And then in the second half, the floodgates opened and we scored obviously another 3 and beat them 5-0. So that's what goes back to what I was saying earlier, that first goal, and it needs to be early. We need to get on top first because we all felt it in the ground at Brighton, the nerves as the game went on at 0-0. So we can get a nice early goal and just settle the nerves a bit and just have a bit of fun because it's been a while since we've had a stress-free United game. So I quite like that one. So I'm going to go 3-1. I can't see us giving a clean sheet. We've only got 1 in the last 4. So I'm going to, unfortunately, go 3-1. Most importantly, 3 points. I think Tooney will get back on the score sheet. She obviously had a good time with England. I think it'll be a Zalem penalty or something like that, and then Russo as well, also on the score sheet. So I shall leave it there. If you want a full in-depth preview, that is tomorrow. Ben and Matt are joined by a couple of guests tomorrow, so make sure you check that out. Preview in much more depth than we've done on here. For the Villa game, obviously we'll have all the matchday content on Sunday as well, across all for United Instagram and on Twitter as well. And the match reaction will be back on Monday, where we'll be celebrating hopefully a better scoreline than my prediction will suggest. If you haven't already, make sure you've liked and subscribed. And make sure you're following these guys as well, because why not? They all talk sense. And I like doing a panel like this because I'm surrounded by positive, like-minded people, so that's always good. I'm just going to end it there. I'm going to stop waffling. Get outside, get your barbecues on. It's still sunny, and that's what I'm going to do. So enjoy your evenings, everyone, and we'll see you all soon.
Cheers all.